Mercury 150 outboard's been making that ticking sound for 3 weeks now. I keep meaning to pull the cowling, check the thermostat housing, probably corrosion from the brackish water we run through. But you know how it goes. Ranger Station 7 has 2 operational airboats for 67 square miles of wetland patrol, and if I take this one offline, that leaves Denny with the '08 model that burns oil like it's got a hole in the crankcase. I'm running the northwest quadrant. 7:13 a.m. The sawgrass is doing that thing where it catches the light wrong. Too green, almost luminescent in the early haze. Makes me think of my daughter's biology project last year, the one with the phosphorescent algae she grew in jars on our kitchen counter. Remy. She's 16 now, junior year at Palmetto High. This morning she texted me a photo of her AP Bio quiz, 96%, circled in red pen. Kids going to University of Florida for marine biology if I can keep saving. 17 months of overtime, that's the calculation. 17 months and she's got her first semester paid. The radio crackles. Station 7, you copy? That's Denny. 22 years on the boats. Sounds like he gargles sand. Copy, Station 7. Got a report from Fish and Wildlife. Permit holders didn't check in yesterday. 2 fishermen, recreational anglers, permits logged for Cypress Bend area. You're closest. I'm already turning the boat. The Mercury winds, needs the impeller check too, now that I'm thinking about it. Copy, Cypress Bend. Which permits? Papers rustling on Denny's end. Permit FL 7823R, issued to Hold On, Computer Slow, issued to Levon Braddock and Timothy Voss. Braddock's local, homestead address. Voss is out of Hialeah. I know Braddock. Comes out here for 5 times a year. Older guy, maybe 60, brings a cooler full of Bud Light and catches mostly gar. Never catches gar on purpose, they just bite his bait meant for base. But he's meticulous about permits, always checks in on time. When they launch, day before yesterday, 0600, 38 hours. That's not good. The Cypress Bend area is what we call the maze. Channels that split and rejoin, cypress knees breaking the surface like crooked teeth. The water's darker here, tannin-stained from decomposing vegetation. I slow the airboat, kill the fan to half speed. The sudden quiet makes the wetland noise louder. Cicadas, a gator bellowing somewhere southwest. Their boat's easy to spot. 16-foot aluminum John boat, the kind you can buy at Academy Sports for $800. It's moored to a cypress, tied off proper with a bowline knot. The boat's empty. Tackle boxes closed, 2 rods secured in holders. A Playmate cooler, white with blue lid, sits in the center seat. I pull alongside, tie off my airboat to the same tree. My boots hit the John boat deck and it rocks under my weight. The cooler's not latched right. Lid's ajar, maybe half an inch. I open it. Beer. Sandwiches in plastic bags. The ice is mostly melted. Maybe 2 inches of cold water sloshing around the bottom. No blood. No signs of struggle. Station 7 to base. Go ahead. Found their boat. Cypress Bend. Coordinates. I check my GPS unit. Read off the numbers. Boat's intact. No obvious signs of distress. Copy. Want me to call in search and rescue? I'm looking at the water. There's something. Hold on that. The water around the John boat is wrong. I mean, it's always murky out here, visibility maybe 6 inches on a good day. But this is different. The surface has this film on it, like oil but not quite. It catches the light in rainbow patterns. But underneath there's this green tint I've never seen before. Like someone dumped food coloring. And there's a smell. I've been working the Everglades for 9 years. Since Remy was 7 and I needed better pay than the construction work I was doing. I know swamp smell. Decomposition, sulfur from bacterial decay. The sweet rot of dead gators. This is different. Sharper. Organic but wrong, like cut grass mixed with something chemical. I kneel at the edge of the John boat, reach down to touch the water. Station 7, you still there? My hand stops 3 inches from the surface. There's someone in the water, not floating, not drowned and bobbing face down. In the water, under the surface, maybe 3 feet down where the visibility should make them invisible. But I can see them because they're glowing. Not bright, but enough. That same green luminescence. It's a man. Face up. Eyes open. His chest is moving. He's breathing. Station 7? Repeat your last. I'm staring at this man breathing underwater and my brain's doing what it does in crisis. Running numbers, checking facts. Human lungs hold air for 2 to 3 minutes maximum before hypoxia sets in. Brain death at 4 to 6 minutes. This man is breathing, chest rising and falling rhythmically, and he's been underwater for how long? Since yesterday morning? I grab my boat hook, 8-foot aluminum pole with a curved end, and reach down. The pole breaks the surface film and it makes this sound like tearing fabric. The green water parts and I see him clearly now. Levon Braddock. I recognize his face from previous encounters. The gray beard, the dolphin's cap he always wears. The cap's still on his head, somehow. But his skin has veins running through it that aren't veins. They're green, bright green, glowing faintly, spreading from his chest outward like cracks in glass. They pulse, not with his heartbeat, faster, irregular. And where the veins run thickest, his skin looks textured. Rough, like bark or like algae blooms on standing water. His mouth is open. I can see down his throat. It's coated in the same green growth, thick enough that I shouldn't be able to see his trachea. But the growth is translucent, luminous. His eyes track to me. They focus. He's awake. Denny. My voice sounds wrong. Too high. Denny, I need you to call this in to county. I need hazmat protocols. I don't know what I need. There's something in the water. What kind of something? I found Braddock. He's alive. He's underwater. He's been underwater for... Denny, he's breathing down there. Static. Then, say again. Get county on the line. Get the CDC if you have to. I'm looking at something that's not... This isn't drowning. This isn't normal. There's a second man down here too. I can see him now, 10 feet from Braddock. Timothy Voss, according to the permit. Younger, maybe 40, dark hair floating around his head like seaweed. Same glowing green veins. Same chest rising and falling. Both of them are anchored somehow. I can't see what's holding them down, but they're not floating. They're stationary, 3 feet below the surface, oriented face up like they're stargazing through murky water. Remy's biology project. The algae in jars. She explained it to me while I pretended to understand. Photosynthesis. Oxygen production. She grew it under UV lights because it needed light to produce oxygen, needed oxygen to grow bigger, a feedback loop that turned 1 tablespoon of culture into a jar full of green soup. These men are producing oxygen. I can see it now. Tiny bubbles forming on their skin where the green veins cluster thickest. The bubbles rise in streams, breaking the surface film, releasing into the air with that same sharp organic chemical smell. They're breathing underwater because they're making their own oxygen. They're photosynthesizing. Station 7, counties asking for video confirmation before they scramble resources. Can you get footage? I have my phone out before he finishes asking. My hands are shaking. I notice this distantly, like I'm watching someone else's hands. I frame the shot. Braddock's face 3 feet down, the green veins pulsing, his chest moving, those steady streams of bubbles. I take the video, send it to Denny. 30 seconds later, my phone rings. What the hell am I looking at? It's not Denny. Different voice. Official sounding. This is Captain Reeves, Monroe County Emergency Management. Ranger. What's your name? Trevor Haskell. Station 7, Northwest Patrol. Ranger Haskell, I need you to stay on site but do not make physical contact with the water. Do you understand? No contact. Already figured that part out. We're scrambling a response team, but the nearest hazmat unit is in Miami. ETA 90 minutes. Can you maintain position? I'm looking at Levon Braddock. His eyes are tracking again, following something I can't see. Maybe fish. Maybe the patterns of light filtering through the cypress canopy. Yeah, I can maintain. Good. And Ranger, don't breathe too deep. We don't know what's in the air. The call ends. I'm sitting in my airboat, 20 feet from two men who've been underwater for 38 hours, breathing through their own skin, and I can smell that sharp green smell with every inhale. My throat feels fine. I text Remy, "Hey kiddo, proud of that 96. Kill it today." She responds immediately, "Thanks dad. You on the water?" "Yeah." "Long shift. Love you too." I put my phone away and watch the men breathe underwater and wait for Hazmat to arrive and tell me what the hell I'm looking at. The smell is getting stronger. Hazmat takes 2 hours, not 90 minutes. I spend that time documenting everything with my phone camera, taking water samples and empty Gatorade bottles I find in my gear bag, and trying not to think about how much of that sharp green smell I've been breathing. The response team arrives in 3 airboats, 2 from county, 1 from state. They're wearing full suits, the yellow Tyvek kind with respirators that make them look like they're responding to a chemical spill. Which I guess maybe they are. The lead guy introduces himself as Dr. Paulo Rinson, epidemiologist out of the state health department. He's maybe 50, graying at the temples, and he doesn't waste time with pleasantries. "Show me." I point at the water where Braddock is visible just below the surface, that green glow unmistakable now in the afternoon light. Rinson kneels at the edge of my airboat, leaning out with a sampling pole. Looks like a modified pool skimmer with a sealed container attached. He breaks the surface film and the tearing sound happens again. Louder this time. The container fills with green-tinted water. He seals it, labels it with a permanent marker. Cypress Bend Primary Sample 1. "Have you had direct contact with the water?" he asks without looking at me. "No, sir. Came close, didn't touch." "Good. How long have you been on site?" 2 hours, 17 minutes. "How do you feel?" "Normal. Maybe a little." I stop, because I don't feel totally fine. There's this tingling in my sinuses, like the beginning of a cold or allergies, and my eyes have been watering for the last 20 minutes. I thought it was the sun reflecting off the water. Rinson sees my expression. "Describe it." "Sinus pressure. Eyes watering. Could be allergies. I get them bad in May." "It's July." "Yeah." He makes a note on a waterproof pad. "We're going to need to run a full panel on you when we get back. But first," he points at Braddock. "You said he's been responsive? Tracking with his eyes." "Yeah." Not like he's trying to communicate, just aware, following movement. "And the second victim?" 10 feet northwest. Same condition. Rinson signals to his team. 2 of them move to secure a perimeter with floating barriers, the kind they use for oil spills, bright orange fabric weighted at the bottom. They work fast, sealing off a 100-foot radius around the John boat. "We're categorizing this as a biohazard containment situation," Rinson says. "Potential waterborne pathogen with unknown transmission vectors. The men are alive, which means extraction is the priority, but we need to understand what we're dealing with first." One of the team members approaches, hands Rinson a tablet. He scrolls through data, frowning. "Your water samples are showing algal concentrations I've never seen outside of controlled lab blooms. But the species..." He looks up at me. "This is Chlorella vulgaris, common enough freshwater algae. But it's expressing at levels consistent with industrial-scale bioreactor cultivation. Natural blooms don't produce these densities. Someone dumped it here? Maybe. Or..." He zooms in on something on the tablet screen. "See these cellular structures? This isn't normal chlorella morphology. The cells have integrated with what looks like human epithelial tissue. It's not just living on the host, it's living in the host. Symbiotic integration at a cellular level. In English, the algae is growing inside them, in their skin, their lungs, their bloodstream, and it's keeping them alive. They're breathing because the algae is producing oxygen directly into their blood. They don't need air from the surface, they're photosynthesizing." I'm thinking about Remy's biology project again. The algae in jars, the UV lights, the way it spread until the water was solid green. How long can they survive like this? I don't know. Days? Weeks? As long as they have light and the algae stays viable. He pauses. But that's not the primary concern right now. What is? He points at the containment barriers. Those bubbles you're seeing? The oxygen they're producing. It's not pure. The algae is releasing spores, reproductive cells, into the air. Airborne particulate. We're detecting them at concentrations that suggest active transmission. The tingling in my sinuses gets worse, like my brain's decided to acknowledge what my body already knows. I'm breathing it. You've been breathing it for over 2 hours. So has everyone within approximately half a mile of this location, depending on wind patterns. He pulls up a map on the tablet, marks the contamination zone with a red circle. That includes Cypress Bend Marina, the visitor center, and about 40 residential properties on the edge of the park. How do we stop it? We don't. Not yet. We contain what we can, evacuate the zone, and pray this thing doesn't spread faster than we can respond. One of the hazmat team calls out from near the John boat. Dr. Rinson, we have a problem. We move to his position. He's pointing at the water, maybe 20 feet from where Braddock is suspended. There's someone else down there, a woman. I can see long dark hair floating, same green veins spreading across visible skin, same rhythmic breathing. She's deeper than the men, maybe 6 feet down, and she's wearing what looks like a park ranger uniform. My stomach drops. That can't be. Do you recognize her? Rinson asks, but we only have 4 rangers at this station. Me, Denny, and 2 seasonal hires, Veronica and James. Veronica's 23, graduated from FIU last year. This could be... Denny, you copy? My radio crackles. Copy. Where's Veronica? She was supposed to run the southern quadrant this morning. Checked in at 0700. Said she was launching from... static. From Cypress Bend Marina. The marina that's inside the contamination zone. Get her on the radio. Now. Silence. Then Denny's voice, strained. Station 3. This is base. Come in. Nothing. Station 3. Please respond. Rinson is already on his phone, barking orders about expanding the evacuation zone, mobilizing additional teams, establishing air quality monitoring stations. But I'm looking at the woman in the water, watching her chest rise and fall, and I'm doing math I don't want to do. Veronica launched at 7 a.m. It's 2 p.m. now. 7 hours. The fishermen were underwater for 38 hours before I found them. If the infection spreads this fast, if people are going into the water and not coming back out, just sinking down and starting to photosynthesize, how many others are already down there? Dr. Rinson, one of the team members, calls out. We're getting readings from the air quality monitors. Spore concentrations are increasing. Whatever's producing them is accelerating. Rinson looks at me. How many people visit this section of the park on an average day? I don't even have to think. Weekday in July? 50 to 70 visitors. Fishermen, birdwatchers, kayakers. Plus the marina staff, maybe 10 people. And 4 rangers. Where do they launch from? 3 primary access points. Cypress Bend Marina, Gator Hook Landing, and the visitor center boat ramp. He pulls up his map again, marks the locations. They're all within the red contamination circle. We need to shut down all access immediately. And I need a list of everyone who's been on the water in the last 48 hours. Permit registrations are electronic. Denny can pull them from the database. Do it. And I want. His phone rings. He answers, listens, and his face changes. Goes from concerned professional to something else. Something that looks like fear. How many? He asks. Pause. Okay, yes, initiate full quarantine protocols. I'll be there in. He checks his watch. 30 minutes. He hangs up, looks at me. Emergency services received a call about a man in the water who wouldn't come out. First responders arrived, found 7 people in the water. All of them breathing, all showing signs of advanced algal integration. The responders tried to pull them out. 3 of the EMTs are now symptomatic. Respiratory distress, fever, skin discoloration. They're infected. Early stages, but yes, the algae is airborne and it's communicable. Anyone who breathes it in high enough concentrations is at risk. He starts moving toward his airboat. We're evacuating everyone within a 5-mile radius. Full biohazard lockdown. You need to come with us, you've had significant exposure. I need to check on my daughter. Where is she? Palmetto High School, 23 miles north. He stops, looks at me directly. You go there, you risk exposing everyone she's in contact with. You understand that? I understand. I understand that my daughter is 23 miles away and I've been breathing spores for 2 hours and my throat is starting to feel scratchy now that I'm paying attention to it. I understand that I might be carrying something that could put her in the water, face up, breathing through skin covered in glowing green veins. What do? You come with us. We test you, treat you if you're symptomatic, and we monitor the situation. If you're clean in 24 hours, you can see your family. But right now, you're a potential vector. My phone is in my hand before I decide to pick it up. I text Remy. Hey, something came up at work. Might be late tonight. Stay at your mom's place. Okay? I'll call you later. She responds. Okay. Everything all right? Yeah. Just a situation on the water. Love you too, Dad. Be careful. I pocket the phone and follow Rinson to his airboat. Behind us, Levon Braddock breathes underwater, and the smell of growing things fills the air, and I can feel something settling in my lungs that wasn't there this morning. The quarantine facility is a repurposed school, Homestead Elementary, evacuated 3 years ago after the hurricane and never reopened. Now it's got chain link fencing, military vehicles in the parking lot, and that temporary government feel where nothing's quite right but everything's technically functional. They put me in a classroom with 7 other people. All of us were on the water in the last 48 hours. All of us showing symptoms. My symptoms: sinus pressure, watery eyes, scratchy throat, and now a low-grade fever, 99.8 according to the thermometer they shove in my ear every 4 hours. No skin discoloration yet, but I can feel something when I cough. Wetness that shouldn't be there. Thickness like I'm breathing through a damp cloth. The woman in the cot next to mine is named Felicity Moreno. She's 42, works the Cypress Bend Marina bait shop, and her arms are showing the first traces of green veining. They're faint, like someone drew on her with a highlighter, but they're spreading. She's been here 6 hours longer than me. Doesn't hurt, she says when she catches me looking. That's the weird part. I thought it would hurt, but it just feels tingly, like my arm fell asleep. Across the room, a guy named Jackson, fisherman, 50-something, beard down to his chest, is coughing up green fluid into a medical waste bucket. The nurses don't come in without full hazmat anymore. They stand at the door, give instructions through the intercom system mounted on the wall. Drink water, stay hydrated, monitor your symptoms. Jackson yells at the intercom. I'm pissing green. You hear me? Green. What the hell is that? No answer. The nurses can probably hear him. The intercom works both ways, but they don't respond. They've got protocol to follow, and answering hysterical questions isn't part of it. My phone rings. It's Denny. Trevor, you okay? Define okay. I step away from the others, move to the window. Outside, I can see more airboats arriving, more people being escorted in wearing the same paper scrubs they gave us. The quarantine is expanding. I pulled the permit data like they asked, Denny says. 83 people on the water in the last 48 hours. They've accounted for 62. 21 are still missing. Missing as in they didn't come back to their cars? Missing as in we think they're in the water. Coast Guard's running thermal imaging on the zones, but the canopy makes it hard to see. They're finding heat signatures underwater. Lots of them, but they can't get close enough to confirm without risking infection. 21 people. Minimum. Could be more if they came in without permits, which happens all the time. Could be locals who know the back channels, Could be tourists who didn't understand the registration system. Could be 50 people by now. What about the marina staff? Ask. The visitor center? Evacuated. Most of them are clean, got out early enough. But we've got 11 confirmed cases at your facility and 4 more at a secondary site in Florida City. 15 people infected. That they know about. Denny, how's this spreading? The doctor said it's airborne, but there's got to be an incubation period, right? Time between exposure and symptoms. They don't know yet. Best guess is 3 to 6 hours for respiratory symptoms, 12 to 24 for dermal changes. But it's accelerating. The people who've been in the water longer, like Braddock and Voss, they're producing so much oxygen and so many spores that the air around them is saturated. Anyone who gets close is getting hit with massive exposure. They need to pull them out of the water. They tried. Coast Guard sent divers in full containment suits. Got within 10 feet and had to abort. Said the algae density in the water was so thick they couldn't see, equipment was malfunctioning, something about the spores clogging their air filters. They're talking about using remote drones now, but even those might not work if... He stops talking. If what? If the algae keeps spreading. Trevor, they're seeing blooms now in areas where there were no initial infections. It's in the water system. Whatever this is, it's finding new hosts, or it's self-replicating fast enough that it doesn't need hosts. We're talking about quarantining the entire southern Everglades. 100 square miles, maybe more. My fever is 100.2 now. I can feel it climbing. My throat isn't scratchy anymore. It's raw. Swallowing hurts. I need to call my daughter. Trevor. I need to call her, Denny. I hang up. Dial Remy's number. She answers on the second ring. Dad? You sound terrible. Yeah, I caught something on the patrol. Nothing serious, they're just keeping me here for observation. How was school? Boring. Dad, are you okay? You really sound sick. I want to tell her. I want to tell her that I'm in a quarantine facility watching people cough up green fluid, that I can feel something growing in my lungs, that the CDC has shut down 67 square miles of wetland and nobody knows if this thing can be stopped. I want to tell her that I'm scared, not of dying, but of what dying might look like, of ending up like Levon Braddock, face up in murky water, breathing through skin that glows in the dark. Listen, if something happens, if I end up having to stay here longer than expected, I need you to stay with your mom. Don't come to the Everglades. Don't come looking for me. You understand. You're freaking me out. I know. I'm sorry. But promise me. Okay. Promise. Dad, what's going on? Just a situation at the park. They're being cautious. I love you. I love you too. I hang up before she can ask more questions. Dr. Rinson appears at the door, still in his hazmat suit. He gestures for me to come over. I walk to the intercom. Ranger Haskell, we have your test results. And you're positive for Chlorella vulgaris presence in your respiratory system. Concentrations are low, we caught it early, but it's there. We're starting you on an experimental antifungal treatment, but I need you to understand something. This isn't a fungus. It's not bacterial. It's algae that's learned to integrate with human tissue, and we don't have established protocols for treating it. You're saying you don't know if I'll survive this. I'm saying we're doing everything we can. But the people who went in the water first, Braddock, Voss, the others, they're too far gone. The algae has replaced too much of their respiratory function. If we kill the algae, we kill them. They're dependent on it now. So they stay in the water forever, or until the algae dies and they die with it. We're looking at options for long-term containment, but he glances at something off-screen. But the reality is we might be dealing with a permanent condition. People who are infected at advanced stages may never leave the water again. Felicity Moreno is listening. Her green veins have spread to her neck now, creeping up toward her jaw. She's sitting on her cot, staring at her hands. How long do I have? She asks the intercom. Before I'm like them? Rinson doesn't answer immediately. When he does, his voice is careful, professional. The voice of a man delivering bad news he's delivered before. Your progression is faster than Ranger Haskell's. If the treatment doesn't work, 48 hours. Maybe less. She nods. Doesn't cry. Just nods and lies back down on her cot. I'm looking at her green veins and thinking about Remy's biology project. The way the algae spread through the jars, consuming everything, turning the water into a solid mass of living green. The way she had to throw it all out eventually because it got into the jar lids, the countertop, spreading through microscopic cracks until our whole kitchen smelled like a swamp. Dr. Rinson, I say, what happens if you can't contain this? He's quiet for a long time. Then we're looking at an ecological transformation event. The entire Everglades ecosystem could convert. Every body of water becomes a breeding ground. Everyone who goes in comes out infected or doesn't come out at all. We're talking about a region of Florida that becomes uninhabitable for normal human life. How do we stop that? We don't know yet. We're working with the EPA, the CDC, FEMA. But this is moving faster than our response capabilities. Every hour we have more infected, more area to contain. The math isn't good. My fever hits 101. The nurse comes in, full hazmat, moving fast, gives me an injection of something cold that burns going into my arm. Antifungal. Won't work, I think, because this isn't a fungus. This is something that's figured out how to live inside us, how to use our bodies as incubators while it spreads through the air, through the water, through every breath we take. I text Remy one more time. Love you, kiddo. Be safe. She responds immediately. Love you too, Dad. I put my phone away and lie down on my cot and try not to think about what it feels like to breathe underwater, to feel your lungs filling with green light, to know that you'll never see the sun from above the surface again. Outside, more airboats are arriving. More people being escorted into quarantine. The perimeter keeps expanding. And somewhere in the Everglades, Levon Braddock breathes through skin that glows, and the spores rise like smoke, and the water turns green. Hour 36 in quarantine. My fever's holding at 102.3. The antifungal treatments aren't working. Nobody's surprised. Felicity Moreno is gone. Not dead. Gone. They moved her to a separate facility an hour ago, her veins glowing through the paper scrubs, her breathing shallow and wet. She didn't fight when they came for her. Just stood up, walked out, let them lead her to whatever room they've designated for people who are too far gone. There are 53 people in quarantine now, across 3 facilities. 72 confirmed in the water. Those are the ones they can account for. The thermal imaging shows hundreds of heat signatures in the contamination zone, but they can't get close enough to verify. The drones are failing, something about the spore density in the air corroding the electronics. Remy's been texting. She knows something's wrong. Her mom called my ex-wife, Diane, asking questions I can't answer. The news is covering it now. Biological incident in the Everglades. Respiratory illness spreading through South Florida. They're not showing footage of people in the water yet. That'll come later when they can't hide it anymore. Dr. Rinson appears at the intercom. He looks exhausted, like he hasn't slept since this started. Ranger Haskell, we need to talk about your daughter. My chest goes cold. What about her? She's been in contact with you via phone, correct? Text messages. Yeah. So what? We're seeing evidence that the spores can remain viable on surfaces. Phones, clothing, anything that's been in the contamination zone. If your phone was in your pocket during your exposure, if you handled it after touching contaminated surfaces, there's a chance it's carrying spores. You're saying I could have infected her through the phone? No. But we need to test her. Everyone who's had contact with quarantined individuals needs screening. It's precautionary. She's 23 miles away. She's not in the contamination zone. The contamination zone expanded this morning. We're now at a 12-mile radius and growing. Your daughter's school is 15 miles from the epicenter. We're establishing screening sites at all schools, hospitals, and public facilities within 20 miles. I'm on my feet. You're not testing my daughter like she's She hasn't been near the water. She hasn't had any symptoms. Incubation can take up to 72 hours. We need to screen everyone who's had potential exposure before symptoms appear. Ranger Haskell, I'm not. She's 16 years old, she's terrified, and you're not treating her like she's infected when she's not. Rinson's face doesn't change. You don't get to make that choice. This is a public health emergency. We have legal authority to mandate testing for anyone within the expanded zone. The intercom goes quiet. I'm standing there, hands shaking, fever burning through my skull, and I'm thinking about Remy walking into a screening facility, about needles and hazmat suits and someone telling her she might end up in the water like all the others. My phone rings. It's her. I answer. Hey kiddo, Dad, there are people at school. They're saying everyone needs to get tested for some kind of infection. They're saying it came from the Everglades. Dad, that's where you are. That's where you've been. I know. Listen to me, Remy. Do what they tell you. Get tested. It's just a precaution. Are you sick? Is that why you've been at the quarantine facility? You can't lie to her. Not now. Yeah, but they're treating it. I'm going to be fine. You don't sound fine. You sound... Dad, your breathing sounds wrong. It does sound wrong. Even I can hear it now, rattling, like there's fluid in my lungs that shouldn't be there. I'm on medication. It's helping. I need you to get tested, and then I need you to go to your mom's house and stay there. Don't go near any water. Don't go near the park. You understand? Okay, I understand. Dad, yeah, I love you. And I'm really scared. I know, baby. Me too. But you're going to be okay. I promise. I hang up before she can hear my voice break. Jackson, the fisherman who was coughing green. He's not in the room anymore. They took him during the night. I didn't see where. But his cot is empty and stripped, and there's a wet patch on the floor where something dripped. Something green. A woman across the room starts coughing. Violent, racking coughs that double her over. When she pulls her hand away from her mouth, there's green fluid on her palm. She stares at it, then looks at me. I have a son, she says. He's 12. He's at home with his grandmother. If this doesn't, she doesn't finish. Can't finish. Because we all know what happens if this doesn't stop. We've all done the math. 72 people in the water, 53 in quarantine, hundreds more potentially exposed. Exponential spread. Algae that reproduces through spores in the air, that integrates with human tissue, that turns people into living filters that produce more spores, more infections, more conversions. Dr. Rinson comes back on the intercom. Ranger Haskell, we need you to make a decision. What decision? Your daughter's test results came back. She's positive. Early stage, low concentrations, but positive. We're bringing her in for treatment and observation. The room tilts. I grab the edge of my cot. No, that's not. She hasn't been near the water. She hasn't had any contact with. We don't know how she was exposed. Could have been airborne transmission at a distance. Could have been secondary contact through contaminated surfaces. Could have been community spread we haven't identified yet. But she's infected, and we need to start treatment immediately. Where are you taking her? Facility 2 in Florida City. Same protocols as here. She'll be monitored, medicated, and isolated until we can determine progression. I want to see her. That's not possible. You're symptomatic and contagious. Putting you in the same room would increase her exposure levels and accelerate her progression. Then let me talk to her. Video call. Something. Pause. I'll see what I can arrange. 10 minutes later, they set up a tablet at the door. Remy's face fills the screen. She's in a room like mine, institutional, sterile, wrong. She's wearing paper scrubs. Her eyes are red from crying. Dad, hey kiddo, how are you feeling? Tired. They said I have it. The thing from the water. They said it's in my lungs. It's early. They caught it early. The treatment will work better for you than it did for me. What if it doesn't? And here it is. The choice. The fucking choice that I've been avoiding since Dr. Rinson first told me about the people in the water. I can lie to her. I can tell her she'll be fine, that the treatment works, that this is all precautionary, and in a few days she'll go home and finish her junior year and apply to UF for marine biology like we planned. I can give her hope that might not be real, comfort that might be false. Or I can tell her the truth, that the treatment doesn't work, that Felicity Moreno's veins glowed green and they took her away, that 72 people are breathing underwater right now, their bodies converted into living algae farms, and nobody knows how to bring them back. That if the algae spreads to her skin, if it reaches the integration threshold, she'll go into the water too. And I'll never see her again. Not on land. Not in the sun. Just a glowing shape 3 feet below the surface, breathing through luminescent veins, producing oxygen and spores until the day the algae dies and takes her with it. I can tell her that her father's competence, his 9 years patrolling these wetlands, his knowledge of every channel and cypress stand, doesn't mean shit against microscopic organisms that learn to hijack human biology. That I can't save her. That nobody can. Remy, listen to me. I need you to fight this. I need you to do everything they tell you, take every medication, follow every protocol. Because my voice cracks. I'm not going to be able to help you. I'm too far gone. But you're early enough that maybe the treatment will work. So you have to fight. What about you? Don't worry about me. Dad, what about you? I look at my hands. The green veins are there now. Faint, barely visible, but spreading from my fingertips toward my wrists. I felt them start an hour ago, that tingling Felicity described, like my hands falling asleep. But they're not asleep. They're changing, converting, becoming something that can breathe underwater. I'm going to be okay, I lie, but you need to focus on yourself right now. Can you do that for me? She's crying, full tears, streaming down her face. I don't want to go in the water. Dad, I don't want to end up like those people. You won't. I won't let you, but I can't stop it. We both know I can't stop it. The tablet screen flickers. Dr. Rinson's face appears in a corner window. Ranger Haskell, I'm sorry, but we need to end this call. Your daughter needs to rest, and you need to make a decision. What decision? We've identified the primary infection source. The fishermen Braddock and Voss. They're producing spores at rates that are seeding new blooms throughout the water system. As long as they're alive and photosynthesizing, the contamination will continue to spread. We can't extract them safely, and we can't kill the algae without killing them. But we can eliminate the source. You're talking about killing them. I'm talking about stopping an epidemic. We're looking at thousands of potential infections if this continues. Maybe tens of thousands. We need to make a choice between 2 people who are already lost and everyone else who might still be saved. You want me to sign off on this? I'm just a park ranger. I don't have authority for. You were first on scene. You documented the initial infection. You have the most direct knowledge of the contamination site. Your authorization would support our decision to proceed with elimination of the primary vectors. The woman who was coughing earlier, she's listening. She stopped coughing, but her breathing is wet, labored. She speaks up, voice hoarse. Do it. If it stops this, if it saves my son, do it. Others are nodding. The whole room is listening now. Everyone in their paper scrubs with their fevers and their green-tinged skin. Everyone who knows they might end up in the water, might become the next source that needs to be eliminated. How? Ask. Controlled chemical treatment. We introduce a compound that kills the algae. Fast-acting, complete saturation of the contamination zone. Everything in the water dies, including the hosts, including Veronica, the ranger. She's down there too. Yes, and how many others? You said there were hundreds of heat signatures. We estimate 70 to 90 people in the primary zone. All of them too far gone for extraction. All of them producing spores, spreading the infection. If we don't act, the number grows. I look at the tablet screen. Remy's face is still visible in the corner. She's trying to stop crying, wiping her eyes with paper scrub sleeves. If I say yes, I kill 70 to 90 people. People who might still be conscious down there, might still be aware, trapped in bodies that betrayed them but still alive, still human in whatever way matters. I kill Levon Braddock, who came out here to fish and drink Bud Light and never hurt anyone. I kill Veronica, 23 years old, FIU graduate, whole life ahead of her. If I say no, the spores keep spreading. The contamination zone keeps expanding. Remy's infection progresses. More people go into the water. More people convert. Until what? Until South Florida is uninhabitable. Until the Everglades becomes a dead zone where nothing survives except algae and the humans it's absorbed? You said you'd save everyone else. I say, you can guarantee that? No, I can't guarantee anything. But we stop the primary source, we have a chance. We wait, we lose that chance. I look at my hands. Green veins spreading. I'm maybe 12 hours from where Felicity was when they took her. Maybe 24 hours from the water. If I say yes, and the treatment doesn't work, if Remy ends up in the water anyway, then we'll face that decision when we come to it. I close my eyes. In my head, I'm running calculations. 17 months of overtime to save for Remy's college. 9 years of patrols learning every channel, every stand of cypress. 2 hours documenting people who were breathing underwater before I understood what I was looking at. One daughter who's 16 years old and infected and crying in a quarantine room because her father made her promise not to come to the Everglades. I open my eyes, look at the screen, at Remy. I love you, I tell her. Whatever happens, I love you. Dad, what are you? I look at Dr. Rinson. Do it. Kill the source. Do whatever you have to do to stop this. Authorization confirmed. We'll proceed at 2200 hours. The screen goes dark. I'm sitting on my cot in a repurposed classroom, fever at 102.9, green veins crawling up my arms, and I've just authorized the death of 70 to 90 people because maybe it saves my daughter. The woman across the room nods at me. Thank you, she says. I don't respond. Can't respond. Because I'm watching my hands turn green and I'm thinking about Levon Braddock breathing underwater. And I'm wondering if he's still aware down there. If he knows what's coming. If he'll feel the chemicals burning through the water, killing the algae that's keeping him alive, shutting down his hybrid biology one cell at a time. If he'll drown, finally, after all this time breathing. At 2200 hours, somewhere in the Everglades, they release the compound. I don't see it happen. I'm in my quarantine room, fever climbing, veins spreading, watching my phone for updates I don't receive. But I know it's happening. I know that right now, poison is flowing through the channels where I've patrolled for 9 years. I know that people who've been breathing underwater for days are dying. Their algae-filled lungs shutting down. Their green-veined skin going dark. Their bodies finally drowning in water they'd learned to survive. I know that Veronica is dying. That Levon Braddock is dying. That 70 to 90 people whose names I'll never know are dying because I said yes. And I know with absolute certainty that it won't be enough because the algae is already beyond containment. It's in the water system, in the air, in 53 people's lungs, including mine and Remy's. Killing the source doesn't kill what's already spread. It just buys time. Maybe days, maybe hours, maybe nothing at all. My phone buzzes. Text from Remy. Dad, they're saying something happened at the park. They won't tell us what. Are you okay? Rest now. I love you, she responds. Love you too. I put the phone down and lie back on my cot and feel the algae growing in my chest. And I wait for morning to see if I bought enough time. Day 7. My veins are visible through my shirt. Green, luminescent in low light. The fever broke on day 4. Not because I'm better, but because my body's adapted. My lungs have restructured. I'm breathing normally, but what I'm breathing isn't quite normal anymore. Part oxygen from the air, part oxygen produced internally by the algae colonies that have integrated with my alveolar tissue. The compound drop killed 73 people. They recovered 41 bodies from the primary contamination zone. The rest dissolved too quickly. The algae had converted too much of their mass into its own cellular structure. When it died, there wasn't enough human tissue left to remain coherent. Veronica was one of the 41. They showed me photos, asked me to confirm ID. Her face was intact. The rest of her wasn't. They cremate everything now. Just incineration and sealed urns. The compound didn't stop the spread. There are 412 confirmed cases across South Florida now. 83 in the water. 329 in various stages of respiratory integration. The CDC has established permanent quarantine facilities. They've stopped calling them temporary. Remy is in Facility 2. Day 7, same as me. Her veins are showing. Not as advanced as mine, they caught her earlier, tried more aggressive treatment, but they're there. Faint green lines on her hands, her neck. She texts me every day. We do video calls when they allow it, which isn't often. Containment protocols. How are you feeling? She texts, same. You? Tired. They're talking about moving me to a different facility. One with long-term care capabilities. Dad, what does that mean? It means they don't think she's going to recover. It means they're preparing for the possibility that she'll progress to full integration, that the algae will convert enough of her biology that she'll need to go in the water, that she'll spend the rest of her life breathing through skin that glows, suspended 3 feet down in some facility pool, photosynthesizing. It means they're being cautious, I type. They want to make sure you have all the resources you need. You're lying. I stare at the screen. She's 16. She's smart. She deserves better than my protective bullshit. Yeah. I know what it means, Dad. I know what happens to people like us. I've been reading everything they'll let me access. I know about the integration threshold. I know that once it reaches a certain point, we can't survive without the algae. We become dependent on it. We go in the water and we don't come out. You're not at that point yet, but I will be. You will be. We both know it. I don't respond, because she's right. My lung capacity is at 60% of normal, but that 60% is partly algae-produced oxygen. If they killed the algae now, I'd suffocate. My body can't function without it anymore. I'm maybe 3 days from the threshold where water becomes more viable than air. 3 days from joining the 83 others who breathe underwater in containment pools, whose families can visit but only look down through reinforced plexiglass at shapes that glow green in the filtered light. When it happens, Remy texts when I go in the water. Will you be there? I don't know if they'll let me. Ask them. Please. I don't want to do it alone. I close my eyes. Open them. Text Dr. Rinson through the facility messaging system. If my daughter reaches full integration, I want to be with her. Same facility, same pool. Whatever needs to happen, make it happen. He responds 20 minutes later. I'll see what I can do. The news is covering it constantly now. Everglades viral outbreak. Algae-human symbiosis crisis. They're showing footage of the containment pools, aerial shots, carefully edited to not show faces. Just green water, lights glowing beneath the surface, bubbles rising. They interview scientists who explain in measured tones that this is unprecedented, that we're learning in real time, that treatment protocols are evolving. They don't interview the families. The mother whose 12-year-old son is in Facility 3. The husband whose wife went kayaking and never came home except as a heat signature in murky water. The daughter whose father authorized the compound drop and still wonders if those 73 deaths accomplished anything. My ex-wife, Diane, calls. First time we've spoken in 4 years. Trevor, Diane, they won't let me see her. They say I'm not immediate family in the quarantine sense. That only you get clearance because you're already infected. I know. Don't apologize. Just, is she okay? Really okay? She's not. She's progressing. They're moving her to long-term care. Diane makes a sound like she's been hit. How long does she have? On land? Days. Maybe a week. Then she goes in the water and what? What happens then? Then she lives. Just not the way we thought she would. She'll breathe. She'll be conscious. But she'll be in the water. Permanently. They say some people adapt psychologically. Others what? Others withdraw. They stop tracking with their eyes, stop responding to stimuli. The algae keeps them alive, but whatever made them human, they just go somewhere else. Inside themselves, Diane is crying. I can hear it through the phone, wet and broken. She was supposed to go to college. She was supposed to... God, Trevor. She was supposed to have a whole life. I know. Can I at least see her? Even if it's through glass, even if I can't touch her, I'll ask. I'll make them let you. Thank you. She hangs up. I sit on my cot and look at my hands. Green veins pulsing faintly, following pathways that don't match my actual circulatory system. The algae's built its own network, parallel to mine but separate. Independent. I can feel it sometimes working, producing oxygen, consuming carbon dioxide, growing. I'm becoming something else. Something that can survive underwater indefinitely as long as there's light to drive photosynthesis. Something that produces spores with every breath, that could infect others just by being near them. Something that's no longer fully human. Jackson, the fisherman from my quarantine room, he went in the water 3 days ago. I saw him being transferred to the pool facility. They wheeled him out on a gurney, his body covered in green veins so thick he looked like a diagram in a biology textbook. He was conscious, eyes open, aware, but he didn't fight. Just let them lower him into the water, watched as his body sank 3 feet and stabilized, started breathing through skin that glowed. I wonder if he's still in there, if he's aware, if he knows his son is in Facility 4, 14 years old, showing early symptoms. If he knows the containment failed, the compound drop didn't work, the spores are still spreading through South Florida at rates that suggest complete regional saturation within 60 days. If he knows his infection helped create a pandemic that might transform the entire Everglades ecosystem into something Earth has never seen before. My phone buzzes. Remy, they're moving me tomorrow. Facility 4, the pool facility. I know, baby. I'm scared too. Will you be there? I'm working on it. I promise I'm working on it. Okay. I love you. I love you too. I send Doctor another message. Transfer me to Facility 4. Same timeline as my daughter. We go in together or I don't go at all. His response. Approved. Transfer at 0800 tomorrow. Sorry doesn't mean anything. Sorry doesn't change that I'm going to spend the rest of my life underwater, breathing through algae-filled lungs, watching my daughter do the same. Sorry doesn't change that the Everglades I patrolled for 9 years is becoming something alien, that every body of water is a potential conversion site, that people are staying away from anything wet because they know what happens if you go in. Sorry doesn't change that I authorized killing 73 people and it didn't matter. The algae was already too widespread. The spores were already in too many lungs. We were always going to end up here in the water breathing green. I pack my things, not much. Phone, clothes I won't need anymore. A photo of Remy from her 15th birthday, smiling, holding the acceptance letter to a summer marine biology camp she attended. She looks happy, normal, human. I stare at the photo and try to remember what it felt like before the algae, before the green veins, before I learned that competence doesn't matter when you're facing something that rewrites biology faster than you can understand it. I can't remember. That was only 7 days ago, but it feels like a different life. A different person who thought he could save people, who thought knowledge and experience and 9 years of patrol work meant something against exponential biological conversion. That person was wrong. At 0800, they come for me. Full hazmat, gurney, restraints, not because I'm violent but because the protocol requires it. Through corridors that smell like chlorine and algae, past other rooms where other infected people lie in cots, past windows that show outside where the world continues without us. We reach Facility 4. They lower me into warm water, kept at exactly 28 degrees Celsius, optimal for algae growth. My green veins are fully visible now, glowing in the filtered light. The water comes up to my chest, then my neck, then over my head. I breathe. The water fills my lungs and it should be drowning, but it's not. The algae is producing oxygen faster than I'm consuming it, feeding it directly into my bloodstream. My body accepts this, adjusts, my heart rate slows, my metabolism shifts into something more efficient. I sink 3 feet and stabilize. Through the water, I can see other shapes. Other people suspended at the same depth, glowing faintly. Maybe 15 of them in this pool. Some are still moving, tracking with their eyes. Others are motionless except for the steady rise and fall of their chests. They lower Remy in next to me. Her eyes find mine immediately. She's scared. I can see it in the way her hands move, reaching for me. I take her hand. My fingers are green, glowing. Hers are starting to glow too. We sink together, 3 feet down, suspended in warm water, breathing through skin that isn't quite skin anymore. Her chest rises and falls. Mine does too. We're producing oxygen, producing spores, producing more of whatever we've become. Above us, through the plexiglass viewing window, I can see faces. Diane is there. She's pressing her hand against the glass, crying. Mouth moving, probably saying Remy's name. But we can't hear her. Sound doesn't travel the same down here. Remy squeezes my hand. I squeeze back. We breathe green light and watch the surface world through 3 feet of water and know we'll never leave this pool. Know that this is what remains. This warm darkness, this slow breathing, this existence as living filters that produce the very thing that converted us. Outside the facility, the contamination spreads. New cases every day. New people going into the water. The CDC is projecting complete Everglades saturation by October. Possible spread into the greater Florida water system by December. They're talking about evacuating entire counties, establishing permanent exclusion zones, accepting that some regions are lost to human habitation. They're talking about adaptation, about learning to live with an ecosystem that's partially underwater, partially human, partially something new that we don't have words for yet. Down here, we breathe. We produce oxygen. We glow. Remy's hand is still in mine. Her eyes are starting to lose focus, that withdrawal doctor mentioned, where people go inside themselves and stop engaging with the surface world. Stop being human in ways that matter. I squeeze her hand again. She doesn't squeeze back. I try to say her name, but water fills my mouth and the sound dies before it forms. So I just hold her hand and breathe and feel the algae working inside me, converting my biology into something sustainable, something that can exist here forever as long as there's light and water and the cellular machinery keeps functioning. Above us, Diane is still at the window. She hasn't left, won't leave. Will probably stand there until security makes her. Watching her daughter breathe underwater, watching her ex-husband hold their child's hand in water that glows green. I close my eyes, not because I'm withdrawing, because I can't watch Diane anymore. Can't see her grief, her helplessness, the knowledge that she's losing Remy not to death but to something worse, to a life that continues indefinitely in circumstances no parent should have to accept. When I open my eyes, Remy is looking at me again. Her pupils are dilated. The algae is in her eyes too now, making them reflect light in ways that aren't quite human. But she's still there, still aware, still my daughter. I mouth the words, "I love you." She mouths back, "I love you too, Dad." We breathe underwater. We produce oxygen. We spread spores with every exhalation that rises to the surface and disperses into the air. We are the infection. We are the source. We are what happens when expertise fails, when competence isn't enough, when a father's knowledge of every channel and cypress stand means nothing against biology that rewrites the rules. We are what remains, and the algae keeps growing.